I did find out that I have an unusually low egg reserve for my age. So this was a blow. This was something that I had absolutely no awareness of. I had a mental breakdown. The waking up every 45 minutes to an hour, I just could not cope. I was crying. I was in tears. The moment that changed everything, where I knew I needed to get help, I'm never gonna sleep again. Just completely and utterly unregulated, like a complete mess of myself. Controversial here, but here I go. I'm gonna say it. We don't punish our kids. I think because of the challenges that I was having with her tantruming, combined with me being so heavily pregnant, it led me onto intentional parenting. Hi, I'm Nicole, the host of Squiggly Motherhood, and today I'm doing a solo episode where I'm going to be talking about my squiggly motherhood journey, the messy, the magical, and everything in between. I want you to really get a feel and know who I am, the person behind the mic. So wherever you are, however you're listening to this, come and join me at my kitchen table. So my husband and I, when we decided that we were ready to have a baby, we thought, as I'm sure many of you do, who are out there trying, you thought, oh, it's going to be quick. Of course, I'm going to be able to have a baby really easily. I've been, trying to avoid having a baby for all these years. The moment I come off contraception, the moment we decide to try that first month, a baby will be born, or a baby will come. I'll be pregnant. 9 months later, a baby will be born. Unfortunately, that was not our story. And that is not the story of many, many women out there who are going through the trying to conceive journey. For us, it took us a long time, over a year, less than two, much closer to 2 years, to try to conceive having our first child. Um, it was a challenging time as people around us were having babies, and their journeys to having babies were very quick. They were very easy from what they had kind of said to us. And whilst we were kind of going through that kind of journey of, oh my gosh, like ovulation sticks, peeing to see when I'm ovulating, checking things to see when I'm ovulating, to peeing on a stick and getting another negative pregnancy test. So we decided to run some tests, and all the tests came back kind of negative or positive, I guess. There was nothing there that was causing, conception to not happen. However, I did find out that I have an unusually low egg reserve for my age. So this was a blow. This was something that I had absolutely no awareness of, didn't know was even a thing. And if I'm being really honest, it absolutely scared me to my core. I then started to worry and think, well, will I be able to have a baby if I don't have the eggs? I really did not have the eggs that a woman of my age was going to have. It was significantly lower. Than what would be expected for my age. Now, again, I was told by doctors repeatedly, this doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's about the quality of your egg, not necessarily the quantity. You could have lower egg reserve, but the quality is really, really good. So focus on that. That's really hard to kind of get your head around, that you don't have what is at all average for your age and you are way, way below that. So we were advised by doctors to go on a drug called Clomid. Now, for those of you who have not been through kind of this fertility journey, or trying to conceive a baby through using other methods, I'm going to give you a little bit of a feel of what Clomid is. So essentially, it's a drug that you take. It's a tablet that you take, and it kind of hyper ovulates you. So it means that multiple eggs kind of are released in a particular in one particular month. And that is essentially to increase your chances of having a baby. I was told that 2 or 3 eggs at once could come out, so there is a risk of having multiples, and there are side effects that are that are a result of going on this drug Clomid. And the side effects are different from women to women. And some of those side effects can include hot flashes, brain fog, night sweats, difficulty sleeping, headaches, weight gain. A wide range of symptoms can come as a result of that. And again, I thought to myself, well, if I'm taking this Clomid and I'm potentially going to have 3 eggs come out at once, surely I'm going to get pregnant. This is a given. It's going to happen first month. I have 3 eggs instead of the 1. It's going to happen. It's going to be straightforward. First month, I had 3 eggs that were ready to be fertilized, and I went for the scans, and I was told, yep, there's 3 there. Strong possibility that you could have a multiple. Try to conceive that month, nothing happens. There's just nothing. There's no baby. There's nothing. Why can my body not do this? What's going on? I don't understand. 3 eggs have come out. It only takes 1 sperm. Why is this not happening? Second month now, I think I had 2 eggs that had kind of come out and were ready to be fertilized. And again, nothing. Did the peel and the stick, it was just negative. No line, nothing to write home about. Third month comes around now. I believe 3 eggs were ready, ovulated, popped out of my ovary, and 1 got fertilized. And that is the result of my eldest, my daughter. So when I peed in the stick and I saw the 2 lines come up, and again, I've never had a positive pregnancy test before in my life. We've gone through so many sticks of negatives, well over 12, one of a month. We've done it, right? So I see the 2 positives, or the 2 lines, should I say. I'm like, oh my gosh. Tell my husband. He's like, I don't believe you. You're lying. Because again, we've been doing this for a long time. We wasn't expecting to see a positive at all. And I will just never forget that day where we just jumped up and down as we saw the positive test. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm having a baby. It's worked. Clomid has worked for us. And yeah, so that's kind of the beginning of my journey, I guess, to being a mother, to kind of sharing it from finding out I have low egg reserve, and the emotional impact of that, and how that has led to kind of inform some of my decisions being a mother, and why I made the decision to have my children very close in age, to then kind of going through Clomid, going through the long process of testing, to then finally seeing that positive pregnancy test. And as I said before, that was really the beginning of my squiggly journey, and kind of the beginning of what has led me to where I am today, doing this podcast, doing this passion of mine, and talking about motherhood and being intentional in every single step of it as well. So then my daughter came, and again, I can remember her being born, and just how the joyous day of it all, and just how blessed and in awe I felt of her. And then the sleep kicked in, and I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? And I distinctly remember the first week that she was born, and me and my husband looking at each other, and I said to him, this is what people have been going through? Our friends who have children, this is the life that they've been living with no sleep? It hits you like a ton of bricks. Oh my goodness. I remember one particular night just holding my daughter all night because I just felt too nervous to put her down to sleep. She was waking up constantly anyways, and I just held her all night watching Dreamgirls. Yeah. And there was another movie as well, but it was, I just Dream Girls, I distinctly remember just like sitting there watching. But with us, the sleep just kind of never got better. Um, I was like, oh, it will kind of improve 4 months. Like she will start sleeping, at least 3 hours a night, 2 hour, 2 hour blocks. Didn't happen. I was like, okay, cool. Let me do like 6 months. Like food will be introduced. Maybe something will change then. Like, I don't know. Like maybe she'll start sleeping like again, a 2 hour block. Didn't happen. 6, 7, 8 months now, from her being a newborn to about 8 months, my daughter woke up every 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to say it again. Every 45 minutes to an hour. And I exclusively breastfed. I did all the nights. She didn't take a bottle. She didn't take a dummy. She was in my bed because we co-slept. I was the only way I was going to be able to function. That's the only way I was going to be able to manage. And she was up every 45 minutes to an hour. It changed everything for me. I was jealous of seeing or hearing stories at mum groups of other mums who said, oh, my children just sleep through the night. Or when they gave suggestions of things, oh, why don't you just put her on a bottle? Then she will sleep. And I was like, I can't even, my brain, I can't even, I'm barely functioning right now. And you're asking me to do something else for like a 6-month-old that's never taken a bottle before. Of course, you'll just instantly go onto a bottle because it is that straightforward and it is that easy. It was so hard. I was exhausted and angry. Oh my goodness. That's something no one else doesn't talk about, is it? The anger you feel when your child just won't sleep and they're waking up constantly and all you're begging for is just to sleep for 1-2 hour break. I just remember thinking that and saying it to my husband. I wish she would just sleep for just 1-2 hour block. I'm not asking you to sleep to wake up every 2 hours throughout the night. No, I'm asking for 1-2 hour block so I can have a decent amount of sleep. Didn't happen. And then when she did sleep, let's say she slept for a full hour, I was unable to get off to sleep because I became nervous and anxious that she would wake up. I was like, I just could not get myself to relax. I couldn't get my body to relax. I was just full of anxiety and ended up having not even be able to get to sleep because I was so nervous that she would wake up and I would have that interrupted sleep and I would just struggle. It was rubbish. It was absolutely rubbish. And I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know what was normal and what wasn't. I didn't know whether to sleep train and what and not to. For me, I think I realized that I wanted to be able to give her connection and I wanted to be there for her, and sleep training or leaving her to cry out didn't feel natural to me and authentic and what I wanted to do. And so I felt like I had no other option and I just had to just struggle to kind of get past this really hard, really challenging phase that we were in. And then something happened. I had a mental breakdown. The waking up every 45 minutes to an hour, I just could not cope. I was crying, I was in tears. And then the moment that changed everything, where I knew I needed to get help, is I was crying, shouting, in tears, I'm never gonna sleep again. Just like completely and utterly unregulated, like a complete mess of myself. And I remember it so clearly because it was in the middle of the night and my daughter was asleep, not middle of the night, but it was the evening time. My daughter was sleeping. And I just got this big toy that she had and I just threw it across the room because I was full of anger and rage. And it was in that moment that I was like, Nicole, you need to go get some help. Something needs to fundamentally change. Like, I think both me and my husband are like, something needs to fundamentally change because this is not working. This is not sustainable and you are not coping. And I think the hardest, like, if I could go back and tell myself, like, my old Nicole anything, it would be this. You don't need to do the most. I was like, if you saw me, like a few, like, friends did know that I was struggling. But if you saw me, I always had my big earrings. That's my statement. That's part of my brand. But I always had like my big earrings on. I always had like some eyeliner on. My hair was done. I looked presentable. I went to all the baby classes. You know, I was doing 2, 3, 4 baby classes a week. I was out going to see people. I was socializing. I was out here. And I felt like I had to maintain and do it all. And if I could go back and tell my old Nicole anything or give any advice to anybody listening, is you do not need to do it all. You need to prioritize you. You need to prioritize your sleep. You need to prioritize resting and sleeping when baby does. Even if it means just lying down there and maybe you're not sleeping, but you're just resting, your eyes are closed, you know, maybe it's just that. And that's fine. You don't need to do all the baby classes out here. If you're struggling to get through the day, it's just not a priority. But I felt like I had to do it all. And so I hit that low point. I hit that breaking point, and I was like, something needs to fundamentally change. Now, my husband and I went and sought the help of a sleep consultant, and that sleep consultant said, she's waking up so frequently. Something's going on here. I think there's a bit of a red flag. I think you should go and get some advice from a specialist. And so we went somewhere that dealt with tension for babies, and we had various different like oral techniques and stuff that was done just to help to release some of her tension that she had in her like jaw, in her mouth, in her body. And I kid you not, after a few sessions of going there and having those, like having dedicated sessions for my daughter and then doing the follow-up work at home, her sleep improved like 1,000-fold. 1,000-fold. And then we also got some help with her eczema, and she got some like special steroid cream to really just help control that because she had quite, she had a bit of eczema on her face and her body. Doing those two things, her sleep like massively, massively changed. Now, was she sleeping through the night? No. No, because she's a baby. And I mean, I know some people do have kids that sleep through the night, but I can tell you, for anyone listening, my kids are not those babies. But she slept like blocks of sleep. We went from like waking up every 45 minutes to an hour to waking up in 2-hour blocks, to waking up in 3-hour blocks, to waking up in like, maybe 1 4-hour block, and then waking up every 2 hours after that. Like, everything just fundamentally changed. It improved, it got better. And I was able to like experience rest in a way that I had not done since she had been born. At this point, when her sleep started getting better, from memory, she must have been about 7, 8 months old. And I just felt like I was getting my old me back. And I wasn't walking around so angry. I cannot express to you, I felt so angry that I was unable to sleep. And I felt so angry that even when she was sleeping, that I couldn't get myself off to sleep. I was so angry at myself as well. And then, me and my husband did certain things to help me get back into like my like the ability for me to relax my body, to not feel so anxious about sleep, so I could have a block of sleep. Now, I will walk through kind of what we did probably in another future episode on my social medias, but essentially we switched roles. So although I was exclusively breastfeeding, he took my daughter and they co-slept together in a separate room. And this helped to kind of just break the disassociation from every time she wakes up to having milk. And it allowed me to just kind of relax and ease into things a little bit. So I wasn't so anxious every time I saw her thinking she was going to wake up. So that separation was there. And then when she did need a feed, whenever that was, he would then take her, bring her into my room, and I'd give her a feed and then take her back. And, or, he would do half the night, I would do the other half of the night. So doing things like that made such a big difference. But again, it was such a hard time. It was such a hard time. Super quick interruption. If you are enjoying this episode and you think someone would benefit from it, please, please, please share with a friend and don't forget to subscribe. Now back to the episode. Now, one thing I haven't touched in terms of my kind of squiggly journey of motherhood is my feeding journey. Now, I breastfed my first daughter, and when I went into breastfeeding, if I'm being really honest, I thought that's not for me. Like, well done, the mums who do choose to breastfeed, but I won't be doing that. The idea of like a baby latching onto my breast, I was like, ugh. Just thought of it, just gave me the ick. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to like pump a bowl and that just give them the milk. And then my daughter came and she latched. And I'm going to be really honest, I didn't have any problems with the latch. It was very straightforward. There was a few kind of tweaks here and there, but it was it was a very straightforward journey for us. So again, I felt so blessed because all the stories I had heard was of women having cracked nipples, bleeding, tongue tied, just really horrible starts to breastfeeding. So when my daughter latched when it was very straightforward, I felt incredibly blessed. And I thought I should really utilize this and breastfeed. And also when she latched, I felt this euphoric hormonal reaction every time of just like pure joy that it kind of, my original ick that I thought I was going to have just didn't exist at all. And so from there, it kind of grew and grew and grew. I became I was I'm an exclusive breastfeeder with my daughter. And then we ended up nursing up until around 15, 16 months. And then she naturally kind of weaned herself off. I was pregnant at the time. So I think that was also a reason why she weaned off, as my milk had changed. Then I had my son, and that has been another journey all in itself, as kind of my son, who's almost 2, still nurses and is very much a boob monster. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I want to share like it's not even my breastfeeding journey because I haven't gone into that much detail. I'm just giving you the highlights and the snippets in this episode where you're getting to know me. But essentially, the breastfeeding is such a core part of who I am, part of how I've mothered over the last few years of both my children, that I also wanted to share, like, yes, the joy and the beauty. And like, I love being able to comfort him when he feels, or both my children, well, I don't nurse my eldest, but with my son, being able to comfort him when he is upset, when he is teething, when he does fall over, like all of that stuff, when he is nervous, all of that. Love it. Love that I'm giving him nutrients, and love the fact that my milk adapts to his body, to his body and what he needs at that time, and it's giving him antibodies, etc., etc. But also, I hate the fact that it's restrictive. I can't wear what I want to wear during the summer. He's very much expects it and demands it now. And it has an intensity to it that feels very different to newborns and having like a 6 or 9-month-old, for example. There is this love-hate relationship there that I feel with nursing. And I guess, and I'm going to say this in so many of my episodes that you're going to listen to, but 2 truths can exist at once. I can feel really, 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 really blessed and happy and like love breastfeeding, but in the same breath, really dislike the restrictions that is placed on me, really dislike night feeds. Because let's be real, who enjoys getting up in the middle of the night to go and feed a baby? Like, that is not going to be top 5 highlights of having a child. And I think with motherhood, sometimes it can feel very much like it's this or it's that, or it's black and it's white. And that is just not the case. And in all the guests that you're going to hear, and so many of my solo episodes of Squiggly Motherhood, it's never going to be a this or a this or a that. It's never going to be a black or a white. We live in the gray. We live in the nuance. And I want to bring that to you in so many of the episodes that I have, that 2 truths can exist at once. And oftentimes those 2 truths are really conflicting. They're really, they're a push and a pull. That's what I want to share with all of you. And that is 100% the case with me and breastfeeding. It is like, I hate and I love this at the same time, but I also hate this, but I also love this, but I love this, but I hate this. And I'm there like, yeah, but I'm so passionate about that, and like we're living in the grey and we're having the nuance. And that motherhood is complicated and it's complex, and however you feed your baby, it falls into that bucket as well. And then last but not least, in my kind of squiggly journey, and I really tried to pick out moments that I felt were pivotal in my, like the way that I parent, or has that kind of like influenced me or has kind of shaped me in a certain way. So the last one that I wanted to mention was uh big feelings and tantrums, and how I became so passionate about intentional parenting. So my daughter is very expressive in every sense, in the sense of like how she moves her body, like when she's dancing or like happy or sad, is very expressive. Like you will know when she's happy, you will know when she's sad. And around the age, now I'm trying to think when it started. It definitely started by the time she was 1 that she started having tantrums, and I was like, oh my goodness, 1-year-olds have tantrums. Like, what is going on? I thought this started at 2. Um, and so it started at 1, and by the time she was 1, I was already pregnant with my second. And she would have like, dropping down to the floor, like, having quite, I would say quite like big tantrums, and this just continued as she got older, and she had bigger and bigger and bigger tantrums. So by the time, I don't know, maybe let's say she was like 15, 16, 17, 18, I was around that kind of age, she was dropping onto the floor, she was kicking and screaming, she was shouting, she was like trying to hit me, like literally picking her up, you know, she was doing all of this, like, oh, people who are listening to me who can't see me, she was like hitting me with her hands, kicking me. It was very physical to restrain her. And at the time I was pregnant. I had a bump, I was heavily pregnant. And she would kick and hit my bum and like hit me. And it was just like physically very, very hard to restrain her and calm her down. And I distinctly remember a moment that I was left a baby class. Anyone who goes to a baby class knows you have to sit on the floor. If you're like 7, 8, 9 months pregnant in your second pregnancy, dropping it down to the floor is hard, and getting back up when you still have like a 50-month-old is also incredibly hard as well. So just on the baby class where I was like, dropping it down low, standing up, sitting down, standing up, doing all of that stuff, very physical, my hips are hurting me, etc., etc., etc. And I'm asking my daughter now, as we about to leave, can you please, let's go and put on your shoes? Big, massive tantrum, dropping onto the floor. I'm trying to pick her up. She's hitting, kicking, explosive, crying, shouting. And I'm literally looking at her thinking, what is wrong with you? Like, what is going on? Looking around, none of the other kids are doing this. I knew lots of other parents, who had kids that were my daughter's age. They weren't doing all of this. And I was like, what is wrong with you? I just like, I remember it so clearly. Outside this baby class with her, being like, what is wrong with you? And because of the physicality of her tantrums and me being pregnant, I just knew I need to do something. Like, this needs to change. Like, this cannot be my life. How can I like fix this? And so Google became my best friend. Podcast became my best friend. Research became my best friend. I was like, what is going on? Yeah, like, what is a tantrum? What's happening developmentally with my child? How can I help her? What do I need to do? How do I need to educate myself, resource myself to stop this, to control this, to help this, because I physically cannot keep picking you up like this, in this way, in this manner, if you're kicking and fighting me and hitting me and I am 7, 8, 9 months pregnant with a bump. I physically cannot do it. And I am with you so often, just us two one-on-one, that I need to find a way to make this work. Period. And I think because of the challenges that I was having with her tantruming, combined with me being so heavily pregnant, it actually led me onto intentional parenting and led me onto the way that I parent today and the way that our house is essentially run, and the values and the foundational thinking that we put down with both of our children. So I researched, like I said, I listened to podcasts, I educated myself on like what is happening developmentally at all the different stages. And through that, I've kind of been able to focus on like several areas, pillars, maybe you want to call it, I don't know, that are really important. One of those are holding boundaries. We're very, some would say, strict on the things that we do and do not allow our children to do. And we are firm with those boundaries, loving, but always firm with the boundaries. We focus very much on building up our children's inner scripts. And that is in terms of, inner scripts being the story that you tell yourselves in various different moments. When you're having a hard moment as an adult, and you're struggling, what are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself, oh, I'm rubbish, I should be better at this, why am I not better at this? Like, failure is not an option. Or are you telling yourself, that's okay, learning happenings, learning equals growth, I can do better next time? What is it that you're telling yourself? What's that inner script? And this is what we focus a lot on. And this is what I focus a lot on with my two children. And my son's still young. So, on my daughter, building up that inner script. What does she tell herself in the good moments, in the challenging moments, when she needs resilience, building that up? Emotional regulation. So in those times when she was kicking, fighting, hitting, crying, dropping it down to the floor in those tantrums, I wasn't like, get up, you need to stop crying, compose yourself. I wasn't doing that for several different reasons. And I'll talk about this again and again. And I'll talk about this in my newsletter that you can find on Substack, that's in the show notes. Subscribe to that. You'll get loads of good tips and talk about kind of my parenting journey, my ethos, all of that stuff. But I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on, right, what do I need to teach you? How do I need to help you in this moment? You're clearly unregulated. And when I'm telling you, to get up from the floor, it only seems to upset you more. So how do I need to help you through these difficult feelings? And I have a phrase that I use with both my kids is, let's get to a place of calm. So before we, let's say she wants a biscuit and she's dropping it down to the floor and she's upset. I want a biscuit, Mom wants biscuit, Mom give biscuit, Mom give biscuit. When I'm trying to comfort her and get her down to a place of calm, I'm not focusing on whether she's going to get a biscuit or not. That's neither here nor there. She cannot hear me. They cannot hear you when they're that dysregulated. My primary goal is to get her calm. And it's not to get her calm to then tell her you're not getting the biscuit. It's to get her calm and to stay calm and to be present and to hear me, to see what's around her, to touch something hard or has got a bit of texture, to bring her back to her body, to herself, to her place of calm. And then it's to say to her, you're not having a biscuit. And then have her process those feelings that come with it. But when she's all wilding out all over the place on the floor, she's not able, she's not comprehending, right? She's not able to hear that. So emotional regulations for me is just incredibly big in our family. Not just how we help our children emotionally regulate themselves, but also how we in our house, how we model emotional regulation as well. Are we perfect? No. Do I shout at my kids? Yes. Do I shout and get angry? Yes. Do they see me angry? Yes. Like, I'm human. But then we do the restorative, reparative work, and I explained how my children, I was angry, and I explained, anger's not a bad thing. People get angry. It happens. It's how you manage those feelings and those emotions. And I went into so much detail about emotional regulation because that just is so core and so important to me and to my parenting. And that has all kind of grown from my daughter being so unemotionally regulated that I was like, well, damn, I need to clearly do something to help you regulate yourself. And a big one, which I'm not going to touch on too much because I think it will probably be a separate episode that I will do in a future, in the future, is, I'm saying something a bit controversial here, but here I go. I'm going to say it. We don't punish our kids. Yeah, there I said, and I paused. Maybe for a bit of effect, I don't know. We don't punish. And again, our kids are young. So maybe we will punish. Maybe a form of punishment may come in as they get older when they become a teenager. But both kids are under the age of 4, So we do not punish in this house. And I can go into the various ways of what punishment is in a future episode. So please subscribe and you'll be able to kind of get that information on what punishment means to me. But we don't punish in this house. We focus on teaching, we focus on learning. We absolutely discipline, and that kind of falls under holding boundaries and all of that stuff. But we have decided to move away from punishment and move closer to teaching. You're doing this kind of behavior. How can I teach you to not do it? Let's have a conversation. Age appropriately, let's have a conversation about this. So yeah, that's kind of I guess the main pillars. That's the things that are coming to my mind right now. Maybe there'll be other things that I'll mention in future episodes. But essentially, those are the things that I've kind of have started from my daughter being very unregulated and then her tantrums, is almost sprouted out these other things and interests that I've had around child development and how I want to parent moving forward and how I want to be intentional with my parenting, intentional with my discipline, intentional with my modeling to my children, intentional with how I'm emotionally regulating as well. So just to kind of wrap that up, it started from having some fertility issues going on there and going on to use Clomid and, finding out I've got a low egg count, to then the exhaustion of sleep, lack of sleep, having a mental breakdown, completely losing my mind, to kind of, I guess, the underpinning a lot of this is breastfeeding and how that's kind of helped to, has fed into the parent that I am today. To then and again, has also fed into that is the tantrums, the unregulation that my daughter had, and then how that has then, as I mentioned before, sprouted out into these other areas of interest, very much shaping who I am. Now, this is my squiggly journey, and I think as episodes go on and you get to know more about me, you'll know more about more of my squiggles, more of my motherhood journey, and I just cannot wait to share that with all of you. As you kind of hear my journeys and what shaped me, and as we talk about various different topics to do with parenting, I'm really, really excited to kind of share that with all of you and just to be honest and real and not hide around fluff and just be direct about, this is rubbish, but this is also really joyful at the same time. Now, if you've enjoyed this episode, please, please, please share this with a friend. If this has felt relatable to you, the lack of sleep, the fertility challenges, the wanting to be an intentional parenting and really thinking about discipline, modeling to your kids, emotional regulation, if that's for you, or somebody who's going to be like, yeah, that's their jam, they're going to love this, please, please share this episode with a friend. Share this on a motherhood group that you're in. It will help other people to find me, to create that community as well. Please also subscribe to my Substack. That information is in my show notes. In the Substack, there are newsletters going out every week. I'll also be sharing reflections on my guest episodes, my thoughts and feelings after speaking to each of my different guests, please have a look out for that. That's also in Substack as well. So please subscribe to the Substack as well. And if you have any feedback or want to message me, reach me at Squiggly Motherhood on all social media platforms, and also email me at squigglymotherhood@gmail.com. Until next week, guys, I will catch up with you all then. So stay tuned. The next episode will be released next week, Tuesday. So make sure you subscribe so you're able to know when that drops on wherever you're listening to this. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
I went back to work after my maternity leave and I struggled. I struggled to go to work, to maintain a house, to cook, to clean, to look after 2 toddlers. It was just a lot. The mental load was insane. My to-do list was so long. And I was thinking, what can I do to make my life easier? What can I do to kind of outsource the stuff I have on my to-do list? And the first thing that came to mind was food. And so I turned to HelloFresh. I went online, I picked the recipes that I wanted, the ingredients was delivered straight to my door, and I was able to cook freshly cooked meals for my family in 30 to 40 minutes with the help of my daughter. And just like that, the mental load of having to cook, which I absolutely hated at that point, had completely gone in the bin. So for all my listeners of the podcast, I'm giving you a discount for HelloFresh, so you have one less thing to think about. Go to my show notes, click on the link, and give yourself that discount of HelloFresh today. Remove that extra thing of your to-do list and make your mental load a lot lighter. Check out my show notes now.